If you follow my channel, you know I recently reviewed one of the best 15.6-inch laptops on the market. It's not only thin and light, comes with a gorgeous display, rock solid build quality, and great looks. And of course, that's the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 2. Now I took a look at the 4K IPS model, and now I've got the 4K OLED Touch model. That's right, it's absolutely stunning. It's a fantastic display, and I'm gonna put it head to head with the IPS version. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 2 with the OLED display. Coming up. Want to see more videos like this? Why not hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that notification bell. This way you'll be alerted every time I post a new video. Now I know some of you are not getting notified, so make sure you follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'll let you know when I post new videos on those platforms as well. In the interest of transparency and full disclosure, Lenovo is not paying me for this video. They're not sponsoring me for this video. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own, and no one is seeing this video before its release. The review unit is on loan from Lenovo, and once this review is done, I am sending it back to Lenovo. You have 4 display options when it comes to the X1 Extreme Gen 2. There are 2 Full HD options and there are 2 4K options. I looked at the 4K IPS display last time. Now I'm looking at the 4K OLED multi-touch option. And I can say without hesitation that 4K OLED touch panel is absolutely gorgeous. It's stunning, in fact. It's a Dolby Vision HDR500 display. That means if you're watching high dynamic range content, you're going to absolutely love it on this display. It really shines. Now, when you're looking at an OLED display, one of the things you're going to notice is how you're going to get those really deep blacks, the very vibrant colors that really pop off the display, and this is no exception. This is exactly what you're going to experience with this OLED display on the X1 Extreme Gen 2. And while it has the same resolution as the 4K IPS panel, there is some differences, and you'll notice that the contrast and the black levels are going to be significantly better on the OLED version, and that's of course a hallmark of an OLED panel. And the OLED version covers the color gamut extremely well, 100% sRGB, 98% Adobe RGB, making this a great choice for those creative professionals that do Photoshop, Lightroom, and of course, video editing. Lenovo claims that the IPS panel will get up to 500 nits in terms of brightness and the OLED panel up to 400 nits. Now I measured 403 on the IPS panel and measured 368 on the OLED panel. Both are good results, although the IPS panel does get a little bit brighter. And both of these can be used outdoors, as you can see here, although the OLED model seems a little bit better, a little bit more readable in direct sunlight. Now, on the left is the IPS panel. You'll notice that matte display versus the slightly glossy display of the OLED version, and you can see the difference between the two. I actually like the OLED version, of course, but again, both of these can be used in indoor and outdoor scenarios. And the other key difference is that the OLED panel is a touch display. It was really responsive, and it also has pen support. It uses the Wacom AES technology, and here I am using it with the pen sent over with that HP Elite Dragonfly, and if you want to take notes with this or sketch out some artwork, you have that option, something you don't get with that IPS panel. Don't get me wrong, the IPS panel is excellent in its own right, really deep blacks, excellent contrast, really vibrant colors. It really is a great display. But you will pay more for the OLED panel, of course, but not that much more when you compare it to the IPS panel. When it comes to the bezels, the top and side bezels are decent, or the top bezel does house the webcam, and the bottom bezel there's a bit of a chin, but remember, this is a 15-inch laptop, so I'm not expecting the thinnest of bezels on this laptop, and they're not bad by any stretch, so keep that in mind. But don't get me wrong, this thing looks amazing. But of course, there's a price to pay for having that OLED display, and that's going to be battery life. It only did 4 hours and 12 minutes on my continuous web surfing test over Wi-Fi at 150 nits. The 4K IPS panel did 6 hours and 46 minutes. So if you need better battery life, take a look at that 4K IPS panel, or take a look at any of the 1080p panels they do offer. But if you do need to plug in, it'll take a little over 2 hours to give you a full charge with the supplied 135 watt power adapter. And I love the fact that this is user upgradable. All you need to do is loosen the captive Phillips head screws, remove the bottom plate, and you're in. Once inside, you'll notice an extra SSD slot. So if you want to add more storage, you have that option. The RAM is socketed in, so you can add more RAM. I love that option as well. And the Wi-Fi card is swappable as well, although you do get some really great range, good uploads, good downloads. And speaking of the SSD, you get some excellent reads and writes, as you can see from these results. And for those that didn't see my review, you get some really excellent port selections. On the left side, you get your power port, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, and yes, they do support 4 lanes. You do get an HDMI port, a breakout Ethernet port, and a 3.5mm headset jack. Moving over to the right side, you get your optional smart card reader, a full-size SD card slot, 2 USB-A 3.1 ports, and a Kensington lock port. And I have to say, that's a pretty good selection of ports. Now, the IPS version does have a Windows Hello camera at 720p 30 frames per second. I showed that off in that full review. 2, 1. Okay, so this is the OLED version of the ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 2. It's an infrared camera, 720p 30 frames per second. It also is Windows Hello compatible, so you can log in with face recognition. Good for Skype, good for video conferencing. I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comments section below. And as far as performance is concerned, I was hoping that this unit with the OLED panel would have the Core i9 with its 8 cores, 9th generation processor, of course. They sent over one with the Core i7 9850H. That's the same as the 4K IPS panel that I took a look at in my full review. For those that didn't see it, check it out. The link will be in the video description below. But for those that didn't see it, I want to just let you know the performance is very good, great for productivity work, great for consuming media, and it's also good for gaming. This has the same graphics card that we discussed in that video. Again, link will be in the video description below. And they also went over the thermals and cooling in that video as well. Check it out if you haven't done so. Now, as far as durability is concerned, it's excellent. Of course, this has a military standard 810G rating. That means it underwent a series of tests to make sure that this can take a licking and keep on ticking. One thing to note, though, of course, this is a major fingerprint magnet. You will be wiping it down quite a bit. Now, of course, if you watch my channel, you know I love the ThinkPad keyboards. They're some of the best in the business, and this is no exception. I love the keyboard on the X1 Extreme Gen 2. Good key travel, good tactile feedback. The keys are nicely spaced out. Everything you'd want in a great keyboard is there. And as I mentioned in the last video, I love the Precision Touchpad, and I'm a huge fan of the track point. Now, this has Dolby Atmos speakers, and I think they sound okay. They're not the best speakers I've ever heard. I'm not going to say these are better than a MacBook Pro, because they're not, but they are good enough to watch a YouTube video to fill up a room rather nicely, and it has pretty decent volume. But again, I would say this is a pretty average experience. Okay, let's wrap it all up. Can I recommend the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 2 with that OLED display? And I think you know the answer. Yes, this is a definite yes. You definitely want to take a look at this, especially if you do video editing, Photoshop, Lightroom. You want this display. It's simply superb. I also like the 4K IPS panel that I took a look at. This takes it to another level. And I also like the fact that it is a touch display as well, something you don't get with that IPS panel. Now, as far as the performance, I was very impressed with the Core i7, the 9th generation Intel processor. You do have the option to go with the Core i9. Unfortunately, Lenovo didn't send the Core i9 with its 8 cores for me to check out, but from what I'm hearing, it's very good. I like its outstanding port selection, I like its outstanding keyboard, touchpad, and track point, and I love the fact that the RAM is upgradable, as well as the SSD and the Wi-Fi. That's something you don't see every day. Although there are a few negatives on this, there are no deal breakers. I'm going to stick with my score of 91%, making the Lenovo ThinkPad X1 Extreme Gen 2 worth your money. So what do you think about the X1 Extreme Gen 2 with that OLED display? I absolutely love it. I love the exterior, I love the carbon fiber, but one thing you're gonna notice is it is a major fingerprint magnet. You probably can notice it on the video. It's just unavoidable with this. It really attracts fingerprints very easily, but when you wipe it down, it is absolutely gorgeous. But let's talk about that 4K display. It's an OLED panel, really deep blacks, the really vibrant colors that pop off the display. This doesn't disappoint, of course. It's also a touch display. It was very responsive, and it has pen support. As far as performance, this also has the Core i7. That's a 9th generation 6-core processor from Intel. Unfortunately, Lenovo didn't send me the one with the Core i9. That one would have 8 cores, and of course, that would be good for a video editor. Get a little bit more use out of those 2 extra cores, give you a little bit more horsepower. But of course, it has the GTX 1650 with Max-Q design as far as the GPU option is concerned, and performance was very good. Gaming was very good, as you saw from the numbers. I thought the medium settings was the sweet spot. Now, as far as doing everyday productivity tasks, it's been a dream. It does Microsoft Office well. It does video editing thanks to that GPU. You could do 4K video editing with Premiere Pro. Everything looked good. Now, as far as battery life, that's where you're going to take a hit. And having an OLED display will definitely give you less battery life than the IPS version. And one thing you'll note though, your mileage may vary. If you use a black background with an OLED display, you might get a little bit better battery life. But for the most part, you're looking at a little bit more than 4 hours on a charge, whereas you're gonna get closer to 7 hours or 6 hours and 45 minutes or so on the 4K IPS panel. But if you want even better battery life, check out the 1080p options that Lenovo also does offer for the X1 Extreme Gen 2. But I'm curious to know what you think. Let me know in the comment section below. What do you think of the OLED version of this beauty? I actually really do like it. Now, it's not that much more when you go with the OLED panel than the 4K panel, which is the IPS panel. So that might be something you want to consider. But again, battery life may be a chief concern, so go with that IPS panel. But if you're a YouTube creator like me who wants something that you can edit video on, this is the way to go. This screen is absolutely gorgeous. So please hit the like button, please subscribe, please share this video. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's a device or something out there you think I should review. I'll do my best to try to make that happen. Don't forget to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course my website, AMDtechreviews.com. So until next time, this is Andrew from AMDtech. See ya. Hey everybody, it's Andrew, and this is my... Hey everybody, it's... Hey... I'm at a loss for words. Hey everybody...